Okay guys, so here we are with Cone Racing League Tier 2 Round 9 Singapore. Just getting ready to start qualifying, and as we can see it is very wet. It's not what the drivers would have expected or prepared for earlier on today. So let's see how they get on with these tricky conditions, shall we? Let's see who's going to be the first one out of the pits and attempt to set a line. Attempt to set a lap. So we have a car coming out. We have a couple coming out now, just for the sake of it. At the moment we'll go to the fitted tyre. Actually there's no point doing that, as everyone will be on full wets. Okay, here we are guys. So a couple of cars out on track, just doing their out laps. And I've just been informed that we've got a wet qualifying but a dry race. So this is going to be interesting, as a few people might chance it in qualifying on a fully wet setup in order to qualify very well. Others might go for their dry setups and struggle so they can excel in the race. Let's see who does what and who ends up where. Bearing in mind, over the last couple of weeks we've had a few weird races, and as of last week, Captain Nick scored his first win, with Kyle coming in second and Big Bulls in third. And the week before we had Tobes winning. So over the last couple of weeks we've had a few different winners, a few people chucking it, well, throwing their hat into the ring in contention for race wins now. And TTV Giacomo going wide on his outlap. Wonder why he went that wide. And yes guys, this week it is just me. Jonathan is unable to be alongside me this week. I don't know why. I haven't asked. Okay, so let's who have we got out on a lap? Everyone is just out on their out laps at the moment. I think the first one through will be Giacomo, who has obviously invalidated his out lap. Pheasant Plucker is on his out lap. 4-star is on his actual lap. So let's ride on board with 4-star for a moment and see where he ends up. Oh! We've got a Red Bull spinning in the background. Who was that? Who was that going round? That is that guy Draper. And that is not what he wanted for the start of his qualifying session. Not what he wanted whatsoever. That would dent his confidence, especially if this is the setup he's aiming to use in the race. As we've said, it is a dry race but a wet qualifying session. Anyway, let's jump back on board with 4-star, as he was on a lap just as he's coming towards the end of sector 2. This hairpin's tricky in dry, let alone in the wet. It is horrible to go around, but he seems to have managed to get a decent run out of there. And down towards the final sector we go. Purple in the second sector. However, I think he is the first car to reach that checkpoint. So it will be purple for the first couple of people that go past it. As the track will dry out, it will start to rubber in the further through qualifying we go. So those who have aimed to get into Q3, the faster drivers out of the grid will have picked their dry setups in order to get all the way through, and without compromising their Q3 times. As we all know, that is the most important. What they want is to still have a wet Q2. And 4-star round in a 159.8. And Carl Paradox coming round just behind him on a 201. So already 2 seconds, and Sadistic immediately going quicker on a 1:58.7. So it is getting a little bit heated at the front already, with a couple of drivers already going quick. And let's see who else is on. So we've got the Renault boys, who last week locked out the front row, and unfortunately they had a little bit of contact which spun them, or they needed a new front wing. They had a miserable day at the office, but still managed to regain positions and end up finishing, I think it was P2 and P4 in the end, or P3 and P4. It was one of the two. I can't quite remember, it's been a long week since. But they had a great week last week, qualifying and race results. It's not what they were looking for, and I'm pretty sure they'll be aiming for a repeat today. And Tob's going round in a 2:04. So it's not particularly quick. He can improve, and I think he will try to over the next couple of laps, because I don't think he's underfueled that car. I think he's gone for a few laps at least. TTV Giacomo has set a lap at a 2:03. Who was that? Super Gabu jumping straight into P5 on a 2:07. So already we're seeing a gap form between the front runners and those who are going to be lingering around the drop zones. It's going to be interesting to see who is in the drop zone come the end of the qualifying session. With 11 minutes left, 4-star has just gone quickest again. And that was Sadistic getting well out of the way. Let's see how Carl Paradox gets on. He's on his second lap and he's just going through the first sector now. Turn 1 and 2 around here are very, very tricky. You run ever so slightly wide on any of the turns and you will invalidate your lap. The entirety of sector 1 in fact is like that. So you've got to pick your line and commit to it early on, otherwise you will invalidate your lap. And let's see where he is when he comes across the split. He is he's only marginally down. It's nothing that he can't improve on in the next sector. Okay, so we'll follow Carl Paradox around for the remainder of his lap and see how he gets on. As I said earlier, this hairpin is tricky. It's not particularly fun in the dry, and in the race we will see a couple of moves here, because there is a DRS line just beforehand, which is to get the DRS along this straight. Giacomo has left the session, so I'm wondering if that's because he needs another invite or if he's just lagged out of the game. I think we will see him rejoining in a moment. So far we have 14 drivers that have set a time, and those who are in the bottom half of the, well, in the drop zone at the moment, they've got just under 10 minutes in order to get out, get a time set and get on with it. Like, as I jump on board with Craigo in the final sector, a couple of decent results have gone his way over the last few weeks. Again, I'm not entirely sure that's what he will be expecting, and I'm pretty sure he'll be expecting some solid points from today. Gets a little bit wide out of there. This corner is horrible in the wet because you don't have enough grip to put any sort of power down. You just kind of crawl around it and hope that your car finds grip. It stays well clear of that curb on the final corner, and he goes straight into P11. So at the moment the racing points in P1 and P11, and everything in between is every other team that you can imagine. So there's no definitive answer as to who's got the outright pace so far, because not everybody has shown glimpses of what they're capable of, as they all know that all they've got to do is get through to the next qualifying session and the track will start to dry out. So these lap times won't stay for much longer, they will drop. Okay, so TTV Giacomo has just announced that he had a minor power cut, so it's let him back into his power's now back on, so he should rejoin, and he needs to rejoin pretty quickly, otherwise he's going to be out of qualifying and starting all the way down in P17, which will not be fun. It will be a horrible position to start the race in, and I really I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy at the moment, especially around Singapore. It's just not a fun place to get caught in a train of cars. Okay, so back to it. Where are we? Who have we got out on our lap at the moment? Jay Williams is out on a lap. He is in the final sector, but there is a little bit of traffic around him. This could cause a few issues for him. He manages to get away with that corner cut there. Well, took a little bit more curve than what you ideally should, especially in these conditions. And let's see where he ends up. Jay Williams with a surprise drive last week, and a solid result for him as far as I can remember. He had a great result last week. Okay, let's see where he finished last week, shall we? Last week Jay Williams finished 10th. So it wasn't the result he wanted, but it's the result he ended up with. And I think he had a bit of a mixed qualifying session. Jay Williams though is up to 7th and invalidates the following lap immediately, I'm assuming trying to get out of the way of the traffic and move around them. Liverpool fan, I think he's just going to stay in the pits and wait a little bit longer. And do we have Draper out on track? Oh, that is Bring F1 down in P18, yet to set a time and in the wall in the middle of sector 2, and that does not look pretty. That Alfa Romeo is missing a lot of front wing, and that's terminal. Way too much speed going into there. Way too much speed with no front wing. He has lost it, and he has caused himself to crash out of qualifying, so he will now have to wait the next half an hour before he can jump back into the race. He will be disappointed with himself. He will be kicking himself. And as per usual, Draper is just leaving the pits. No, Draper is still in the pits. He is the driver that when there's under 5 minutes to go in qualifying, he will be the last driver to leave the pits. He thrives under pressure of being the last one to set a lap. He knows what he needs to do, and 9 times out of 10 he will get it done. Let's see if he can do it again today. TTV Giacomo is back in the session. That is what we want to see, that he is in the pits, but with under 5 minutes left, or under 4 minutes now, it's going to take a bit of work if he has managed to rejoin in order to get through, as at the moment the bottom 7 drivers are separated by 3.4 seconds. So if you can find any time in those 3.4 seconds and bump yourself into the top 12, you should be within a good chance of qualifying for Q2. It's an interesting one that we've only just had cars leave, because if they get caught up in traffic, their qualifying is over and done with. So when we realise that Draper is on his flying lap, we will jump back on board with him and see how he goes. That's a smart move by Draper. He has waited long enough so that the track dries out for inters. That's a very smart move by Draper there, as everyone else has set laps on full wets. Now the track has started to dry out. He thinks there's enough time for inters. As I say that, both Royal Viking and 4-star go quicker. So we are now down into 154s for qualifying times. I know it doesn't sound impressive, but in the wet around Singapore, just surviving the lap is impressive. So as these guys have managed to survive a few laps so far and keeping everything sorry guys, I just had a message flash up on my phone regarding another issue, so I do apologise for the lapse in commentary there. So as it stands, Royal Viking and 4-star and Super Gabu in the top 3, all setting times on the inters. And let's see how Draper gets on, because bear in mind this is his first qualifying lap of the session, and he's got to make it count, as this looks like it will be his only qualifying lap of this session if he doesn't progress. Obviously, moving into the next round, we're already missing a driver, as Bring F1 had a horrible crash going into sector 2. He lost his front wing and then lost every bit of grip he had and just went straight into those Rolex boards. It's not the sort of thing that we want to see anyone do, and especially when they're hoping to have a repeat of a decent performance from last week. So that's 2 drivers out already. TTV Giacomo has just said he's going to have to go, as his power cut is bad enough to warrant leaving the session. So unfortunately we won't get to see him in that full action tonight. You will have seen maybe a couple of split seconds of him. And as we follow Draper around as he finishes his lap and qualifying is ended, so he's not going to get another lap. He needs to bring this lap. Let's see where he finishes, shall we, and then we'll ride on board with those who are following suit. Straight up into P3, so Draper timed that perfectly well. He bided his time and waited until it was dry enough for inters, while everyone else was doing laps on the full wets. So Captain Nick is just on his in lap. Royal Viking is in the pits. Draper has finished qualifying. 4-star Tobes has just gone quickest. Sorry, I wasn't riding on board with Tobes there. I didn't even realise he was on an outlap, as I am now doing this myself. Sadistic going fastest. So yeah, it's safe to say that the track is starting to rubber in and dry out a lot, because we've just dropped 6 seconds off of the previous fastest lap in the final 2 minutes of the session. And Captain Nick is in sector 2, 20 seconds down. Oh, he's lost a bit of front wing. So he must have lost that coming out of turn 1 when we saw the red front wing flying everywhere. But it does appear that he's holding a car up. Who was that behind him? That is Dragon on Speed that he is holding up there. Unless... No, Dragon on Speed is finished, sorry. It's really difficult to do this by yourself when you don't have someone else to correct your mistakes. Claire PR is through. So, with everyone coming through the pits, we lose Super Gabu, Dragon on Speed, B Wheeler, TTV, Giacomo, 199 and bring F1. A few quick drivers have dropped out there. Super Gabu, obviously not the result he wanted. Also didn't have the result he wanted last week with, I think, an early retirement. So we move on to Q2, which is normally the tightest session in the qualifying for CRL2. Looking at these times, the top six separated by less than half a second. There's a lot of time to be found in the next couple of qualifying sessions, and we will lose a few more drivers. We'll lose 5 out of this session, and then we are on to the top 10 shootout, which we all know is everyone's favourite bit of the qualifying session. Who starts where, and let's get on with it. Let's see if Draper can put in another decent qualifying session. As we said, only the 1 lap, and he ended up qualifying, well, finishing that session up in 8th, and he went for his out lap very, very late. It takes a lot of courage to do that, and if you know that you have the pace to do it, you may as well get on with it and attempt to do it. Okay, so we have Pheasant Plucker, 4-star, Captain Nick, Tobes, Kyle, JD, Royal Viking, Liverpool fan, Jay Williams, that guy Draper, yes, he was that guy in Q1, Carl Paradox, Claire PR, Craigo, Big Balls, and Sadistic King. Let's see who's going to come out on top of Q2. It makes very little difference as to where they will actually qualify in the end, but if it is dry enough, tyre selection will now come into account here. If it is dry enough to start your lap on a set of slick tyres, you can bet they will be. And as we can see, Pheasant Plucker with the mediums fitted, 4-star with the mediums, Tobes with the mediums, JD, Royal Viking, and that guy Draper, all with the mediums. Everyone else has opted for the soft tyre. And thank you, Nathan, it's needed. Cheers, mate. So as we move down the grid and see who has actually left the pits, which doesn't appear to be anyone yet. Oh, Sadistic King is out by himself with a track all to himself. That's what you want around Singapore, a nice empty track, and hope that nobody impedes you on your way out, well, on their way out and on your flying lap, as the pit entry is a really awkward one where it comes out right on the apex of turn 2, I believe, and it's just an awkward pit entry. It can lead to a lot of issues and a lot of reports come steward opening the doors at the end of the race. So let's see how he gets on, as he has gone out on a set of softs, so it's showing his intentions for the race, as it still is raining. As we can see, the rain is eased up, but it's still not dry. So it appears that they're opting for the softer tyres in order to get through, as qualifying has been a wet qualifying session so far. Not sure if it will count as a complete washout, as they've managed to set laps on slicks, but they may just about get a free shot at tyre selection at the start of the race. So we have Sadistic King, and Kyle out of the pits at the moment. It appears that everyone is taking a book out of a page out of Draper's book and waiting for the track to dry out a little bit more before they venture out the pit lane. As I say that, we just have Kyle and JD leave the pits. I swear these guys are listening to me and then just waiting for me to mention their names before opting to leave. So in Q1 on the inters we managed to get down to a 154, and we know that the softs are capable of at least a 130, a 131 in Q3. So if they can get anywhere remotely near a 140 at the moment, it'll be a big improvement over the last qualifying sessions lap times. And as we have the first car coming across the line, it seems like he's backed out of it for some reason, but he went with a 147, so 7 seconds quicker than the previous best. Obviously the track hasn't dried out all that much yet. There's still a lot more, it's still a lot further it can go, and track evolution will be absolutely pivotal during this qualifying session. The more it dries out, the more it rubbers in, the quicker the times we'll see. As we jump on board with Tobes coming into the back straight on his first lap. Let's see how he gets on and how much quicker he will go. So that's a purple middle sector, with the middle sector being a tight and technical sector around Singapore, with a couple of awkward apexes, a couple of tight corners that get even tighter mid-corner. A very fun place to race around if you can keep it out of the wall and keep away from danger. So let's see how he gets on. Obviously with Sadistic gone with a 147, but Sadistic did ease off towards the end of his lap, and it doesn't look like Kyle is going to do anything of the sort, and goes for a 141.6. So I think that the people that have opted for the medium tyre, they've done it for a reason. They know that they can load up for a couple of laps from extra fuel, get a couple of spotting laps in, and see where they'll qualify, what sort of time frame they're looking at, see where the braking zones are on the slick tyres, in the wet, on damp conditions may I add, and then crank the engine up to full max and see where they come out. Pheasant Plucker is now on his first flying lap. 4-star still in the pits, Tobe still in the pits. And as we follow Jay around the final corner for his first lap, how is he going to qualify? He goes a 139.7, so almost 2 seconds quicker than Kyle there. This is exactly what I meant about track evolution, guys. It is important to time your qualifying runs perfectly. You don't want to get caught up in the traffic, but you want the track to evolve and that dry line to appear in order to get through. And I think that the times will just now tumble even more following on from that. As 4-star ventures out the pits. This is what I mean. So the exit of the pit lane comes out at turn 3, right on the apex of, I wouldn't call it a big braking zone, but the first couple of corners, they're just a quick shift in direction, and then the first time you really have to brake is going into turn 3. Carry a little bit too much speed and someone coming out of the pits, it's a recipe for disaster. So we may see a couple of people getting penalties for blocking or impeding during the race, qualifying, just for coming out the pit lane at the wrong time. So you'll have to be careful. Obviously, if you see another car coming down on your mini-map, just hold the car in pit entry mode and come out of the pits a little bit further behind. Royal Viking going immediately quickest with a 1 minute 37.499. So we'll round it up to a 1:35 dead. So just under half a second quicker than that guy Draper, who also put in a great lap. Carl Paradox across the line with a 1:38.1. Pheasant Plucker is down in P4. JUD is in 5th at the moment. Kyle down in 6th after he's set the fastest lap of the session with one of the first laps set. Sadistic King is down in 7th, and then everyone else is yet to set a lap. As I say that, it does appear that 4-star is about to embark on his first flying lap. Yes, he is. He's just in sector 1. So as we follow him through sector 1, let's see how he's getting on, shall we? So purple sector 1, that's good news for him. With under 5 minutes left of the session, some people will be leaving it late. Draper with another fast lap. Draper has opted to go for a couple of laps this time and not just the one. So he knows that the track's going to be evolving, so he's optimizing those medium tires as much as possible. The medium tires will take a couple of laps to warm up to complete operating window, but once they're there you get a couple laps out of them. The softs warm up a lot quicker, but in the changeable conditions, even I'd opt for the mediums. They switch on, they take a lot longer to switch on, but you'll get a lot more lap time out of them in the long run because you can go for a couple more laps. As we follow 4-star around underneath the stadium section and through the final couple of corners, how's he going to shape up through this final corner? Touch that curb and you will slide. And he comes across the line in P3, so the Racing Points showing great pace today. Currently in P3 and 4 with under 4 minutes left of the session. And that was just Jay Williams you saw leaving the pits. Claire PR is on his lap, and where's Claire PR? What a lap! Straight into P1 on the medium tyre on his first attempt. That is what I was on about by track evolution. Track evolution plays a big role in qualifying, especially when it comes from a wet Q1. The track will evolve so much throughout the sessions. All you need to do is keep on top of it and make sure you're in the right place at the right time. With Claire PR going even quicker through sector 1. Let's ride on board with him for the rest of his lap. Sorry guys, I'm not ignoring you. Just everyone else is either on an out lap or an in lap. So let's see how he gets on with his second flying lap. Because if he sets another fastest lap, I think he will guess he's safe and just opt to come back into the pits and call it a day. Okay, so that one wasn't as quick. No purple sector for him there, so he lost a little bit of time somewhere. And let's see how he gets on in this final sector. Final sector of Singapore, also tight and twisty, very technical. And you need to know where the track limits are to maximize the time that you will gain or lose. Takes a great line through the final corner. And he doesn't improve. And let's see who we've got coming out of the pits. As we ride on board with Captain Nick, who's yet to set a lap time. a few of these drivers have left it late, so this might compromise their qualifying session, as we've got late runners and a lot of cars still out on track. But Captain Nick seems to have picked his spot perfectly on the track, as there doesn't seem to be a lot of people around him. Where is he going? Straight up into P6. He will think he can go quicker than that. He knows he can go quicker than that. And as we follow Carl Paradox on his out lap, nope, he's on a flying lap with no front wing. He has lost that somewhere. So here's a result of those yellow flags, guys. I wonder where he lost that. And I hope nobody's coming up on their flying lap behind him, as we ride on board with Carl Paradox, who runs wide. Still manages to keep his lap intact though. The track is now dry enough for DRS. Obviously, DRS being important for those quick lap times. That hot lap ERS mode too. They all play a big part. As I was just about to jump back on board with Jay Williams, he goes fastest. So it looks like he will be safe, as he is on a 136.3. I'd assume he will be safe at this time, as yes, he is in P1. Now P2 with big balls going quicker on a set of mediums. That's going to be an interesting decision come the race start. And we'll see if they can obviously keep it all tidy. Cheers Dragon on Speed. It's kind of hard to do it by yourself, but I appreciate the comments. Pheasant Plucker, where's he going to end up? His lap is finished. Liverpool fan straight into P7 with his first lap of the session. And he's dropping with Carl Paradox jumping straight into P1. Obviously this is still only Q2, so there's still a lot more to play for. And interesting enough, the guys that have set the qualifying times on the softs, so they'll be starting the race on the soft tyre, they have only done a lap each on those soft tyres. So they have gone to maximize speed through the opening stages of the race. If they can avoid trouble into turn 1 and 2, they should get a clean getaway to those on the mediums. But bearing in mind the medium is around about half a second slower per lap, but it will last a good 6 to 7 laps longer, depending on the driver's setups, as some drivers like to be really heavy on the accelerator and chew through rear tires. And there we have it, guys. We have our top 10, which I will inform you of who finished where and who we are dropping out of the session in a moment. So we have Carl Paradox, Big Balls, Jay Williams, Claire PR, That Guy Draper, Tobe, Sadistic King, Liverpool Fan, Royal Viking and 4-Star making up our top 10. Kyle missing out, Captain Nick missing out, JD missing out, Craigo missing out, Pheasant Plucker missing out. All 5 of these drivers will be disappointed with their qualifying sessions. They will think they had enough pace to make it through, and they will be ruining themselves for making those little mistakes that will cost them a 10th here or a 10th there. Because at the end of the day, the gap between 4-Star and Kyle was marginal. So Q3, now it gets interesting. Very, very interesting. Who's going to go for track position? who's going to come out early, try and get that lap time that will set the benchmark for everyone else. It appears that everyone is coming out pretty much immediately. That's not what you want to see in front of you, is it? A track full of cars. And the only driver to stay in the pit, I believe, was Big Balls, who has opted to stay in the pit. So 4-star, that guy Draper, Carl Paradox, have all opted to stay in the pit. So we have 7 cars out on track, vying for track position, trying to get close enough to get that slipstream along the straights with the DRS, but without being too close to the car in front to hit that turbulent air going into these tight corners. It's a catch-22. Do you want to be that close, or do you want to just have clean air and be able to pick the line that you want? Let's wait and find out and see who's where. So let's see who's currently at the front of the pack. I believe it will be Jay Williams. And I am incorrect. It is Sadistic King who is currently leading the pack around. So we're going to see a lot of purple sectors in a moment, guys. We're going to see purple, purple, purple through where everyone is just setting their personal best for the qualifying session so far. And hopefully the track has dried out. The rain appears to have stopped, so the track will dry out even more than what it had done previously. So track evolution again will play a big role in this. Oh, we have someone off. That was Carl Paradox. He seems to have escaped with his front wing still intact, which around here is a minor miracle. He still seems to have all of his end plates. As we follow Sadistic King. No, we won't follow Sadistic King. We'll try and find who's currently out front. It appears that it is Tobes that is currently out front in the pack. So we will ride on board with Tobes and see how he gets on his first lap. I think him and Sadistic may have swapped positions at some point. Vying for track position is also important. You need enough space to the car in front, but you also need enough room to be able to make a mistake without impeding the car behind. And it does appear that both Tobes and Sadistic have given each other enough room. So what we would like to see, some great sportsmanship from both parties there. As we come across the line in a second with Tobes, who invalidated his lap, so he's going to come into the pits. That'll be for, I'm assuming, another set of softs, and he'll just run through his allocation of soft tyres now. Sadistic King with a 145.9, so he made a mistake. Claire PR was a 135. Jay Williams with a 135. Big Balls with another 135. Royal Viking jumping into 4th with another 130, with a 136 this time. So Sadistic is still hanging in there, even though he's 10 seconds slower than the pole time. 4-star straight into P1. 4-star is slipping a little bit underneath the radar today, not on purpose. It's just we don't have 2 people looking at the screen like usual. And let's see who is out. So Draper on a lap, Liverpool fan on a lap, and Tobes is the only one that is still sat in the pit lane. Okay, we have an invalidated lap by a Liverpool fan. Draper is still going. how's Draper gonna get on? Let's wait and find out. Beautiful line through the hairpin there. He'll be proud of that line. And this yellow flag through sector 2, the final sector, sorry. It does appear that it is just one of the Renaults running slowly. It is Sadistic King, sorry, that is running slowly. He's just getting out of everyone's way as much as possible, making sure that he's not holding anyone up. As Draper takes an adventurous line, to say the least, comes into the pit, so he has made a mistake somewhere that has cost him a lot of time. As Tobes is on his outlap, everyone else is coming into the pit, so Tobes has got a nice free track ahead of him for his lap, as he should make it around and down the pit straight before anyone even thinks about coming out the pits. So let's see what tyres everyone has fitted. Everyone has opted for the soft tyre, knowing that those that qualified on the mediums will have a lot more grip in the later stages of the opening stint. Bearing in mind, Singapore, they claim you can one-stop it from mediums to hards. It's not really a one-stop race. You may as well start on the faster tyre, swap to the mediums, and do 2 stints on the mediums. It's the only way that you're actually going to keep enough pace in the car. As Tobes goes purple sector 1. Couple of tidy corners there, and the hairpin runs a little bit wide on entrance and exit. It's not the line that he'd want to take, but it's the one that he's taken so far. And he does not go purple through sector 2. Okay, as we just jump on board with Tobes through, oh, he's invalidated his lap. That's not what he'll want to do, so he comes into the pits probably for a little bit more fuel and to go again. But he's going to have to make a snap decision as to what tyres he's going to use, as there is under 4 minutes left of the session. In and out the pits will take him about a minute, so he will be looking at having about 2.5 minutes to get his outlap done by the time he gets out of the pits. It sounds like a lot of time, but bearing in mind, you've got to trundle down the pit lane, you've got to warm your tyres up enough to get out and get a solid lap in. So there's a lot of work that goes into the qualifying sessions that's underappreciated. As Draper is on his flying lap now, his first flying lap. Let's hope he can keep that one tidy enough, as the last thing he will want to do is invalidate another lap. Carl Paradox on his outlap, well, on a lap, sorry. So we've got 2 minutes left. Marginal gap between P1 and P2 with 4-star and clear PR. So it's going to be an interesting final couple of minutes to this session. Let's see who can pull a hat out of the bag right now. Getting out of the way for a Liverpool fan, that's what we like to see, even though he was, sorry, for Big Bulls, not Liverpool fan. I'm used to seeing Liverpool fan in a Ferrari, so excuse me for getting the two mixed up. and the Alfa Romeo of the Liverpool fan still being on his outlap. As Draper comes through the final sector, can he keep it together to actually get a lap together and set a lap time? Is wide through there, but he's got a decent run towards the final sector, well, final corner, and just a blast across the line, and he goes P4, 2 tenths down on P1. Does he have enough time, or does he have enough grip left in those tyres? So, 30 seconds left of the qualifying session. Tobes yet to still set a lap. It's make or break for him. Liverpool fan on an outlap just about crosses the line with 15 seconds to spare. Tobes purple through sector 1. He's hoping he can keep that together and actually out-qualify those ahead of him at the moment. It's been a relatively clean qualifying session. Nobody's really impeded anyone that I've seen. There might be a couple of things here and there that people might not be happy with or might want to report later on in the day. I'm sorry if it's not being caught on the stream, but there's only one of me. I can only do what I can do. Sorry guys. As we follow Tobes throughout the rest of his lap, and when he crosses the line we'll purple through sector 2. And when he crosses the line, we'll jump on board with Liverpool fan and see how he goes. So, final sector, let's see how he gets on. That guy Draper's, so P4, 5 and 6 have already crossed the line. 4-star has improved and increased that gap on Claire PR ever so slightly. And how is Tobes going to fare? Tobes straight to P2, splits 4-star and Claire PR. They've been sat at the top of the session. Big Bulls straight to P3. Claire PR dropping 2 positions right at the end. And where is Liverpool fan? Liverpool fan is coming round the final couple of corners as we speak. Has he got enough in the tank to get out of P10? Is it P6? He qualifies P10. Okay, so we have our top 10 guys. We have Claire PR, 4-star, Tobes, Big Bulls, Draper, Carl Paradox, Jay Williams, Royal Viking, Sadistic King, and Liverpool fan. I'm not sure what happened at the end with Liverpool fan, but a lot of room for improvement and a lot of strong performances throughout qualifying. Let's see how they got on in the actual race, because we know that qualifying pace isn't race pace. You don't win any points on Saturday, sorry. Okay, as we just wait on the drivers to pick the tyre allocation for those who finished outside the top 10 in qualifying, fuel loads, see if they need to make any tweaks to their front wings, brake pressure, things like that. All the little things that they wish that they could have done during qualifying but they didn't think of doing, because you never know, that little bit of extra front wing might help you go around a couple of corners a little bit better, gain a couple of thousandths here and there, and by the end of the lap you don't know, you could be a couple of tenths up just by adjusting your front wing or your brake pressure. It's only marginal. Some cars will opt to underfuel, as around Singapore there's only a couple of true overtaking opportunities both being the DRS zones. Dragon on Speed, if you need another invite, you should have a spare one, as I sent you a couple earlier on. So you should be able to rejoin immediately. Sorry guys, but the screen's gonna go off for a moment just so I can send Dragon on Speed another invite into the session, because it will be disappointing for him. Sorry about that guys, it will be disappointing for Dragon on Speed if he ends up losing out on points in a race. And because he's disconnected from the server. Codemasters servers over the last couple of days, including the patch update, have caused havoc in CRL, with the Academy having to drop down to a 25% race on Monday because the servers wouldn't work. Then we had a patch update yesterday. The servers just haven't wanted to play ball this week, so if a couple of people disconnect, I hope that we can get them back in. So, as we finish the formation lap, so 2 stops, obviously medium, soft, medium is the way to go. And we'll run through who's where. So Claire PR, 4-star, Tobes, Big Bulls, Draper, Carl Paradox, Jay Williams, Royal Viking, Sadistic King and Liverpool Fan round out the top 10. With Kyle, Captain Nick, JD, Craigo, Pheasant Plucker, Super Gabu, Dragon on Speed, B Wheeler, TTV Giacomo and Bring F1 rounding up the rear after his crash in qualifying. Let's see if Dragon on Speed has managed to rejoin the session. It appears that he has, because that car doesn't look like it's in ghost mode to me. Yes it is in ghost mode. He is... No it's not. It is TTV Giacomo that is in ghost mode. No, B Wheeler in ghost mode. It's an interesting one. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that, because that will cause havoc during the race. And obviously guys, we will take a look and see what people have fitted for the start. With only 2 drivers starting outside the top 10 opting for the hard tyre to start the race. The hard tyre should go around about 20 to 23 laps, I believe. It's an opportunistic, so yeah. The mediums stop lap 12 to 18 and do the rest on the hards. So the hards can last at least 19 laps. So dragging them out for a few extra laps won't be an issue. As we line up for the start, let's see who is where after turn 1. So I'm just going to swap it to position change, and we can see who ends up where and who is the biggest winner and loser. And we'll jump on board with the leader, so we watch the lights go out. Okay, we seem to be having a little bit of an issue with connection, as the lights don't seem to have come up yet. Okay guys, so it appears that we're having a little bit of issues. with either Dragon on Speed or Sadistic King and their Wi-Fi. It just hasn't connected. So Dragon on Speed was kicked out at the beginning of the formation lap. I did send him an invite back into it. And hopefully we can get going in a moment. If not, then we're going to have to cut the stream and restart at the race. Sorry guys for the delay. There's just a few technical issues. You know how it is, Wi-Fi, things like that. It always gets in the way. As if one person it disconnects during a formation lap, it normally results in everyone. Okay guys, so it looks like we're gonna have to back out of the stream and rejoin in a moment once we've got the race up and running. So we're gonna have to back out, redo the entire grid, make sure that we know who's where. Okay, so we'll be back in 5 minutes or less, hopefully. See you soon.